obviously got a lot more gray in the beard than I did 2 years ago. So I know that the football mortality catches up to everybody, and you never want to lose a season, especially when you felt great, starting the season out about our prospects. But we're going to battle the next 5 weeks and put ourselves in a position to be in the conversation, and hopefully it'll be enough. And like I've always said, you just got to get in.
That's Aaron Rodgers after the Packers lost on Sunday night to the Vikings 24-17. First of all, I don't see any gray in the beard, so maybe he's using some product. Right?
I wouldn't think he has to use product yet. He can't be that gray at this point.
But second of all, as you watch him deliver those words, I feel like there's so much more going on behind his face. Like, you can kind of see it in his eyes, like, oh, there's so much more I want to say.
Yeah.
There's so much more I want to say, and I'm only going to say so much. And I think he's very smart when it comes to choosing his words in an effort to send a message that can be plausibly denied if anyone says, hey, what you're saying is you need a new coach because your football mortality is starting to play out and you only have one Super Bowl championship, and
he's being measured.
Maybe with a new coach you would have another Super Bowl championship before we can actually see the gray in the beard.
Yeah, well, he can't be happy. I do think, even I watched Mike McCarthy on his post-game press conference. He looked a little, out on his feet, like a little bit in disbelief and shock that, oh my gosh, we're sitting here at 4-6-1. I never thought this was going to happen. It's not a good look for the Green Bay Packers, whether it's Mike McCarthy in game management situations, right? Not asking for a measurement at the end of the game, then having to take a timeout, and then taking the timeout and then running the ball up the middle for a no gain proposition there on fourth down. But it just doesn't look good either side of the ball right now.
I still felt like they were going to have a chance to win it, or at least tie it all the way up until the end.
But that's what we always
think. That weird
think.
Throw behind Stephon Diggs that could have gone very badly for the Vikings as Minnesota was trying to kill the clock. It's that, and that's the moment when the Vikings finally could exhale. But yeah, there's been this anticipation with the Packers all year long that something's going to come. That's what he said 10 days ago, Aaron Rodgers, waiting for that galvanizing moment.
Right.
Now, that moment was taken out of his hands when his coach decided to punt on 4th and short. And I think that's going to be the thing that ultimately pushes Mark Murphy, the CEO of the team, toward changing coaches. That's going to be the one thing that never goes away this year.
Especially took the ball out of his hands again there at the end last night. Well, throw the ball on 4th and 1. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's the galvanizing moment. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is trying to be nice by basically saying, the team's waiting for me to do something spectacular that we can all just rally around.
Yeah.
That's what it's
and my coach needs to let me do something spectacular.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
A little bit.
Let me ask you this question.
They're not capable.
We're going to talk about the Vikings at some point because obviously they deserve to be celebrated for winning the game and getting to 6-4.
We know you want to celebrate them.
I wanted to be right. I picked the Packers
yesterday.
I paid full price for that.
I don't believe it. I'm throwing a challenge flag. Mike Florio came into the work yesterday with a nice Vikings. Like, what was it? What do you call that?
It's the salute to service. It's great.
It's great. It's a great sweatshirt. Yes.
Makes me feel tough.
But I don't think you bought it. At one second,
I'm going to show you during the break. I've got the Amazon receipt right here.
Here,
I paid
Minnesota
full price for
media
it.
guy, send me sweatshirt
I paid. Here's what happened. My son wanted one.
Yes.
So I ordered it for him, and when it came, it's like, this thing's really nice. So I got one for myself.
Right.
Full price paid. So don't start down that path.
Okay,
Sims.
good.
I'll show you.
Okay.
All right. Now, what were we talking about? Oh, question that Stats had. Stats, you go ahead and you ask him the question. He's got me all flummoxed now after he's accusing me of getting free stuff.
How is it, Chris, that when the Packers win,
right,
it's all because of Aaron Rodgers, but when they lose, all the blame goes to Mike McCarthy?
Well, listen, I don't know what to say there because that's usually the truth of the matter. I think that's really what my answer would be for you to Stats. Again, not that this offense that they run in Green Bay, you've heard me say this 9 million times now. It is so basic. There's no answers. It's the type of offense where I would say New England runs these plays the first 3 to 4 days of training camp as just like base, let's get our feet wet and let's get practice started. And then they don't even revisit some of these plays as the year goes on. That's how elementary it is at times. Now, yes, we give him the credit when they win because think about when they win. I mean, he's bringing them back from a 20-0 comeback on one leg. So, whoa, he made amazing throws on one leg, made amazing plays with his feet, whatever it may be. Now, hey, listen, could he have played a little bit better last night? But Sure, and I'm sure there's things that I see on film, but you watched it. You watched the game stats. I mean, I don't think there's people flying open across the field. He's got no pass protection in a lot of big moments. And the run game, yeah, okay. Look, we make a big deal when they run for 70 yards. That's what it's turned into. So I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I just think that's really the reality of the Green Bay Packers right now. That's why we're having this conversation about Mike McCarthy.
From time to time when we try to figure out what's wrong with the Packers, I do at least entertain the possibility that some of it is on Aaron Rodgers. That just because he can throw those passes from time to time that are just amazing, the accuracy while he's falling backward, he throws it 40 yards down the field, it drops right in. Because he's capable of doing that, we lose sight of the fact that maybe he doesn't bring to the table some of the skills that the other quarterbacks have from the standpoint of the intangibles, the leadership, inspiring guys to do their job. So you're not frustrated with a guy during a game, that there's an accountability there like a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady would have, where guys don't make mistakes. And I don't know. I mean, it's impossible to pierce beyond that veil and find out what guys really think of Aaron Rodgers. But remember a couple of years ago when they were struggling, there was an item from Tyler Dunn, I think, of Bleacher Report, delving into this question of what kind of a leader Aaron Rodgers is. And once they ran the table that year, it's like that narrative went away for good.
Right.
I think that's still a fair question to ask, because at some point it can't be. It's not fair to Mike McCarthy to say, if they win, it's because Aaron Rodgers overcame Mike McCarthy, and if they lose, it's because Mike McCarthy overcame Aaron Rodgers. At some point, we have to look at Aaron Rodgers and say, you're the guy who's been the quarterback all along.
It's
and
not his job
but there's been plenty of quarterbacks over the years that have had to deal with substandard coaches and substandard performing surrounding cast, and they've still gotten it done.
Well, yeah, like who? Tell me. I mean, that's just a broad bullcrap statement.
No, it's not. No,
it is. It's just, hey, there's been guys out there that have done it before. I mean, yep, okay, I'll take your word for it. No, what you're talking about is the culture set by the head coach. That's where I would push back on you. Yeah, Brady's a great leader because he's been, groomed into that there in New England. Drew Brees with Sean Payton, he's got a guy on his shoulder, the devil and the angel all the time telling him to be better. That's where I think they missed out at
Russell
times.
Wilson has performed really well in Seattle, and Darrell Bevel is the offensive coordinator. I mean, there's an example of a guy that's overcome the coaching deficiencies around him.
I get you.
And I would even say I would have loved to have seen
but in those years too, I would push back and go, in some of those years where you're talking about it, they still had like one of the best running offenses in football with Marshawn Lynch and the things they were doing.
It's a good thing they used it when they needed it most.
Well, that's all I'm saying. But I mean, your point's just. I know he's not the only guy ever.
Stats has helped me out here. Andrew Luck, his first few years in Indianapolis with Chuck Pagano and Ryan Griggs.
So now Andrew Luck's good. Look at this. So Andrew
Wait a minute, now you're moving the goalposts on me there,
Rikers
he can't
Island. Win the playoff games and all this, but now he's carrying the team. Rodgers brings his team to the playoffs under the same circumstances too. I just don't like that argument, because if Drew Brees was so great, how come he's only been to the playoffs twice in the last 9 years?
Because their defense has been horrible.
Oh, but that doesn't see. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get that talk.
No, it's been worse than horrible.
He doesn't have the run game Drew Brees does. He doesn't have the coach he does. He doesn't have the O-line he has. He doesn't have a receiver like Michael Thomas. He's had people like James Jones who can't be on a football team and catch a pass anywhere else, and then he comes back to Green Bay and he leads the league in touchdown passes.
Here's the reality. It doesn't matter, because the only change that can be made as a practical matter is a new coach.
I think
you're not going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So it's going to be a new coach.
Right.
I'd be shocked if it isn't in Green Bay. And I think the fans and the owners, right?
Yes.
The shareholders will rise up and seek the ouster of Mark Murphy if they don't change coaches.
I think so. I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where it's fairly obvious. At least in my eyes, just with some of the game planning plays, you see how much work it is. You see that when they do make plays, it's a lot of times something spectacular from Aaron Rodgers. The difference between this year, I think, and years past, right? The offensive line is not as good as far as pass protecting. That always gave Rodgers the chance to dance around and then make the magic and go into the zone like you talk about that we see him do. And that made them have the ability to overcome these situations we're seeing them in this year. But the O-line's not the same this year, and Randall Cobb's not healthy, and he's got young receivers around him.
And they got rid of Jordy Nelson, which he wasn't happy about.
Sure, right. So all those things have led into where we are now, and I just think that's really the big issue with the Green Bay Packers, and they're in big trouble.
All right, I have reserved
we didn't even talk
60
about
to 90
Minnesota
seconds
yet.
for the Vikings here.
Well, I just want to hear Kirk Cousins in prime time. 3 touchdowns. He went, oh, my gosh, the lights are on and it's nighttime. Let me go on fire.
But you know what? The lights are always on in the dome.
They are always on in the dome.
But hey, you know what? Good. Kirk, congratulations. You
happy?
Yeah.
Come on,
No.
go
I
Vikings.
picked the Packers to win. I wanted to be right.
It's like reverse psychosis.
It's not reverse psychosis.
You do it because you're like, I might be right, but if I'm wrong, I feel good because my team still won.
I was convinced that the Packers would win the game, and the Vikings were going to tailspin out of the postseason because they've got at the Patriots and at Seattle coming up. And, it's no lock the Vikings make it to the playoffs. They may find themselves, because I think they will lose each of the next 2 games, at New England, at Seattle. And that'll drop them to 6-6-1. They win the final 3 against the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Bears. They likely get in at 9-6-1. That's where that tie comes in handy. It allows you to get ahead of anyone who's 9-7.
Right.
But they're going to have to win the last 3. They're going to have to pull that inside straight week 15, week 16, week 17, or they ain't getting in. Because hey, Kirk, prove me wrong again, buddy. You go to New England and win. I'll take back all the shoes that were thrown at the TV with all the dumb things that he did throughout the year, and he didn't do any last night. There wasn't one of those moments where you're like, oh God, what they're paying this guy $28 million. He was good for most of the game, although early on, he did badly miss Stephon Diggs, prompting Chris Collinsworth to say that is not professional
you can't
football.
miss that. Right,
That's the most damning indictment you can ever have of a professional quarterback, saying that is just not professional football. Later in the game, though, he was very accurate. He was making great throws. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs were making great catches. Kyle Rudolph, they incorporated him into the offense more. My theory on this has been that offensive coordinator John DeFilippo is so intent on becoming a head coach next year, he is forcing the Vikings into situations that showcase his ability instead of doing the meat and potatoes things that drive an offense down the field, like throwing to the tight end and running the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of offensive coordinators fall into that. They go, if my quarterback's numbers are good, I'll be called a quarterback whisperer, right? And I don't even know what I almost said there.
You almost said horse whisperer.
Horse whisperer.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, but I'll become a quarterback whisperer, and then I become a head coach. And yes, what's funny is when he was a successful play caller for the Cleveland Browns, you know who his head coach was? Mike Pettin, who was famous for going, run the ball, run the ball. And now, yes, it sounds like Mike Zimmer's had to get in his ear. And when they run the ball, you see just some of the throws over the middle, like you're talking about, to the tight ends, the Diggs over the middle, the Thielens over the middle. It becomes wide open. Offense becomes easier.
And I don't like this head coach who only takes care of the side of the ball that allowed him to become a head coach. I think Mike Zimmer is experienced enough, and he's smart enough, and he's innovative enough if he lets himself be that way to be involved offensively.
Sure.
And it sounds like he's starting to get there because he's sending the clear message to John DeFilippo, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
Right.
And I always have misgivings about the offensive coordinator who is thinking about his next job and is doing everything he can to set himself up for that next job, because it has felt that way too many times this year.
Yeah.
That's exactly what DeFilippo is doing.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.